Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So before I get started with this video, I wanted to let you know that I am right now planning on uploading every Tuesday and Friday. So I will try to make that my consistent upload schedule. So for today's video, I wanted to talk about my PCOS journey, about getting diagnosed with PCOS, about how I knew that I had it even before I was diagnosed. So for those of you who don't know, PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. So what it basically is there are cysts all over your ovaries. And for me, it's very painful. For others, I've heard it's very painful as well. A lot of doctors say, no, it's not painful, and that's not a way to diagnose it, but we'll get into that. So years ago, I want to say back in 2011, I forget what made me go to the doctor, but I'm pretty sure it was I had some pain. So when I went to the doctor, they told me to go to another clinic where they were doing ultrasounds. I went to that clinic, I made an appointment, and when they were doing the ultrasound technician, because it was not at a normal clinic, she was able to kind of say more, and she immediately was like, oh, I see some cysts on your ovaries, but no big deal. She was very nonchalant about it. So because she had a nonchalant attitude about it, I, in turn, had a nonchalant attitude about it. I went home and was a little concerned just because, hey, you have cysts on your ovaries. That's not something you hear every day. It's nothing I had heard of. And so I was about 19 at this point. And when I went home, I talked to my family, and a few of my family members said that they've had cysts before, not on their ovaries, but they've had cysts in other places or whatever, and like it's no big deal. It's usually water in them. They will just kind of work itself out. So no big deal. A few years later, when I moved back to Maryland, because that previous one was in Arizona, when I moved back to Maryland, I was having excruciating pain in my lower left abdomen, right where my ovary is. It was constant. It was just like a stabbing pain and just throbbing, and I would sometimes just be doubled over in pain. So I went to the doctor, and she seemed very nonchalant about it yet again, but this was a different doctor, and she told me that I should get an ultrasound. Well, this ultrasound tech I absolutely loved, and she was telling me every little thing on the screen. And as soon as I lay down, she put the little wand on me and said immediately, you have PCOS. And I was like, I have heard of that, but all I know about it is that people can't have babies if they have PCOS. And she's like, well, that's not necessarily true. I'll give you a packet on it, but I see PCOS every single day, and you have absolute PCOS. She's like, you see all those dots. Like, she pulled up my ovaries, and all over my ovaries were just circles. And so she was like, you see all those circles? I was like, yep. She was like, those are all cysts. They are just covering your ovaries. So I left that doctor's appointment, and I called my mom and left her. She, of course, didn't answer. And I called her bawling, and I said, I'm never going to have kids. I have always wanted to be a mom, and I was just devastated. So when she called me back, she said, just keep your head up. Wait until you talk to the doctor, because this was the ultrasound tech. Yes, she sees this every day, but She's not your doctor. She doesn't know your history. She doesn't know everything. So I went and saw the doctor, and I immediately was like, the ultrasound tech said I have PCOS, so I have it. And she said, you absolutely do not have PCOS. She said there are 3 signs of people that have PCOS. They are, you are obese, you have extreme facial hair and just hair growth all over your body, and you have very bad acne. You do not have any of those signs, so therefore you don't have PCOS. Well, I didn't know that those were the old signs of PCOS. That was how they used to diagnose it years and years ago. But now there are so many other cases of women with PCOS that they've kind of ruled that out. Well, I didn't know that. So I just trusted my doctor and was like, okay, she says I don't have it. So I asked her 2 questions. I said, well, what about the pain? And she said, well, right behind that spot is your colon. So just make sure you just like change positions if you get in like where it hurts again. I was like, okay. And then I also asked, well, then what were those spots all over my ovaries? She said, you've been on birth control since you were 15. You're going on, how old was I at this point? I want to say this was like 2013 or 2014. So I was 21 or 22. So she said, you're going on 21, 22, whatever. You have been on birth control so long that those are your eggs just sitting in your ovaries. So in my mind, I was like, you're the doctor. Okay, makes sense. All right, thanks. Well, for years after that, I still continued to have consistent pain. Of course, it wasn't every day. It wasn't, sorry, my cat has come to join us. It wasn't every single day. It wasn't consistent, but it was painful when it was there. So I just kind of dealt with it. And then I would say in mid 2018, that is when I really, really started to think, I really think that I have PCOS. I still am in pain, and I would do other research, and there were so many other things, because what PCOS is it's a hormonal disorder. So now I am not an expert, this is just what I've read, but the hormones are producing the cysts, I believe, or I think that they're producing the cysts, and then the cysts are preventing you from ovulating, is from what I understand. So because it deals with your hormones, I have constant anxiety. My anxiety has really, really escalated, especially over the past year. So around mid 2018, since we're in mid 2019, that's when it really got serious. And that was also when I was starting my teaching career and all that. So I just kind of blamed it on that. Or I was finishing up school and everything as well. So I was like, oh, I'm just stressed from that. I am exhausted 24/7. I could sleep 12 hours a night and I still am just exhausted the next day and could go to sleep for way longer. I also have constant headaches. I get a headache on almost a daily basis, and I get migraines every week to every 2 weeks, I would say. So when I was looking up all of those symptoms, one thing that kept on popping up on Dr. Google was PCOS. So I was like, I never knew that these were related to PCOS. Like, this is starting to kind of make sense. I already know that there's something going on with my ovaries. I already know that I'm in pain. I already know that ultrasound technician was convinced that I have it. The only other thing that was weird was I was not obese. I don't have a ton of like facial hair and body hair all over me, and I don't have severe acne. So I was just very confused at this point. I didn't know what to think, but I was still pretty convinced that something, if it wasn't PCOS, that something was up. So in November, I went to my doctor and I went in with a plan. I was thinking, if I don't come out with being diagnosed with PCOS, or if I don't come out with an answer of some sort, then I'm going to find another doctor. I did come out with an answer, but it's still, I'll explain. So I went to the doctor and I was explaining all of my symptoms to her. And she was just shooting down every single symptom that I was explaining. She was saying, this has nothing to do with PCOS. This has nothing to do with PCOS. And anxiety, nope, not related to PCOS. Well, pain, nope, not related to PCOS. Just every little thing that I was explaining, she was saying it's not related. So she said there are 3 ways to diagnose PCOS, because they had moved on from that obese hair and acne, because they are finding that the women that have that usually have a higher testosterone, but not every woman with PCOS has the higher testosterone. Her tail is just coming up. So I just kept on pushing and saying, look, I'm having these pains. Like, I really want answers. She just kept on disregarding it. So then during my actual exam, I think it's the pelvic exam, when she was feeling around, I was like, see, that's painful. That hurts. And so finally she was like, you said you got your ultrasounds done here? And I said, yes. It was years ago, but yes. And she was like, okay, well then I'll try to find them in your records. So when when I was done getting dressed, she came in and she was very nonchalant about it, as always. And because this is a different doctor, same practice, but same like location, but the previous doctor that said that I don't have it because I'm not obese and everything, she is no longer working there, but it's still the same location. So she came in and said, yes, you do have PCOS. There are 3 ways to diagnose it. If you have cysts on your ovaries, if you have irregular periods, and if there's a hormone imbalance. I will go into how my periods are wonky. Sorry if it's TMI, but you are watching a PCOS video. So when she came in and said those 3 things, she said, if you have 2 out of those 3 things, then you do have PCOS, and I have all 3. So she's like, yep, you do have PCOS. I looked at your old ultrasounds and you do have cysts on your ovaries. And during that visit, you also got blood work and your hormones are off. You are not high in testosterone, which is why it threw us off. But she did not go into what was off about my hormones. She seemed very rushed and was just kind of like, okay, yep, you do have it. All right, see you later. The only question I was able to get answered from her was, what do I do when I want to start having a baby? So I asked her, what are the next steps when I want to start having babies? Do I stay on birth control right now because I'm afraid that it's going to mess up my hormones? And she said, right now you need to stay on birth control. That is what is keeping your period somewhat regular. And once you are ready to start trying, I want you to just go off birth control, start trying naturally for a few months. She said it takes about 2 to 3 months for birth control to get out of your system. Once it's out of my system, and if I'm still consistently trying and still not seeing results, then come in and we'll most likely look at other options with fertility specialists. So Another way that I knew before I went in were my periods. They have always been all over the place. Like I said before, I've been on birth control since I was 15. I first started on the pill that you only get your period every 3 months. And for the first year, I was only getting my period every 3 months, and it was great. Right when that year hit, I would get my period for, instead of a week, I was getting it for 2 weeks. Then the next time I was getting it for 3 weeks. Then the next time I was getting it for 4 weeks. Then the next time I was getting it for 5 weeks. And then when I got to 6 weeks straight of being on a period, that's when I was like, nope, I need to do something about this. So I went and switched to, I believe, the NuvaRing, and I didn't like that one. So I ended up getting off of that and getting back onto a regular pill. The regular pill, my period has always been very wonky with a regular pill. If I don't take it at the exact time every single night, if I miss it by even just a few hours, I get my period the next day. And whether I'm still on those yellow pills, whether I'm still, it doesn't matter. I will get my period the next day. And then if the next night I take it immediately, right on time, sometimes it will slow it down to just spotting, but a lot of times I'll still have that period for an entire week. After being on the pill for a little bit, I got the Implanon, I believe is what it was. It's the one, the bar in your arm. So that lasts for 3 years. When a year hit, again, I was getting my period for up to 6 weeks at a time. It was no fun at all. But again, that first year was fine. It just takes my body a while to get used to it. And then after that year, it was just my periods were all over the place. They were unpredictable. I would get them for long periods at a time, no pun intended. And then when it was about the 3 years that it was supposed to expire, I went to go take it out or get it taken out. And my body had created such a thick layer of scar tissue over it that she ended up it ended up getting stuck. And when she was trying to get it out, it was like tearing in half. So she had to do another incision. So now I have like 2 pretty bad scars on my arm, way bigger than what it was supposed to be. So ever since then, I've been on the pill. I'm just trying to take it consistently. But like I said, my period's all over the place. So with all those symptoms, that's when I was like, okay, I know that I have PCOS. She was very nonchalant with the diagnosing of it, which is very dismissive. So my next steps, I want to eventually find another doctor. I want to find someone more experienced, not experienced, but more knowledgeable about PCOS. Once I was diagnosed, I joined 2 PCOS support groups on Facebook, and both of those have been extremely helpful. Every person that I know on there has anxiety like I do. They are exhausted like I am. They are stressed like I am. You have such bad mood swings all the time. It's like you're bipolar. You are so happy one minute, and then the next minute you're depressed, and then the next minute you are angry. And I feel so bad for Rob sometimes because I'm all over the place, but I can't help it. It's my hormones are just crazy. Another thing that they're consistently saying on those sites are to see an endocrinologist. So I want to look more into that. They said that they are more experienced with PCOS and the hormonal imbalance. A lot of women with PCOS also are diabetic. So we really have to watch what we're eating. I have not been tested for diabetes yet. That's another thing I want to check out at the endocrinologist. So I need to find one and I want to find a good and experienced one. With my research, I've only seen one pop up in my area, and there's not many reviews. So I don't know if that's the best option. I just have to keep on pushing through. I think my main goal right now is to just keep on with the birth control, just keep on doing what I'm doing. And then when the time comes for Rob and I to start trying for kids, then I will get more serious with it and go and see an endocrinologist and get tested for diabetes and everything else and see what will affect our future and what will help our future. So before I end this video, I want to ask for any video recommendations that you would want from me. Please leave below. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I hope that you continue this journey with me. Hopefully we don't have any problems whenever we start trying, but like I said, once we do start trying to have a baby, I will get more in depth with going to see a specialist and getting my hormones tested. That is one thing that I'm really interested in, to see what hormone is off that she's talking about and how it's affecting me and how it will continue to affect me whenever we start trying to have babies. So follow me along on this journey, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks.